Mrs. Evans, I don't know what you mean. What mistake is Nate making? Victoria felt like her head was swimming. First, Nate's mom ambushed her with an invitation to have coffee. And now she was speaking cryptically. Victoria wanted a way out of this conversation, but she felt like she had to treat the older woman delicately. "You're a mother, aren't you?" Mrs. Evans asked. "You know I am. We just spoke about my daughter." Nate's mother shook her head. "All mothers have the same concerns, I believe. We can't bear to see our children be led astray by their feelings." Victoria nodded, thinking about Olivia and Chris. "I suppose that can be true, but I don't think I'm particularly worried," she added in her head. "Olivia's a smart girl and Chris seems good for her, especially lately." Nate's mother placed a hand dramatically over her heart. "Worrying about Nathaniel and his romantic future takes such a toll on me. I wish I didn't have to feel so much stress about it, but if he's not making good decisions, somebody has to." Is she talking about Lisa? Victoria wondered. Maybe she just needs someone to vent to. "Well, Nate is an adult," Victoria said, hoping to help the woman let go of this obsession. But she knew this type of person. It was pretty hopeless. She added, "You have to trust your kids at some point, right?" "You would say that," Nate's mother retorted to a startled Victoria. "This all is actually taking a toll on my heart. I have a doctor's appointment tomorrow, but he's my son. I can't just decide it doesn't matter." Victoria felt sympathy for Nate. It must not be easy to have a mother like this. She gently pressed, "Nate is such a dependable person. He knows how to make the right decisions for himself, and even when they're mistakes, he can handle that too. He needs you to take care of yourself." Nate's mother's eyes widened. She scoffed, enraged. "You think I should abandon him? He's my son. I had my suspicions, but now I'm willing to bet that you think it doesn't matter if he gives me a grandson or not. Do you want our family line to just die?" This lady is nuts, Victoria thought. How can I calm her down? Upset, Nate's mom continued muttering to herself, almost as though Victoria weren't even there. "I would even prefer a granddaughter to no children at all. Oh, the thought of that. I wouldn't be able to stomach the sight of a child for the rest of my life if I knew I were not to have any grandchildren." She turned to Victoria angry. "She needs to be a woman of childbearing age. I won't hear a word otherwise." Oh. Victoria finally understood why Nate's mother had asked her to come to coffee. She thought to herself, "She wants me to help her find a woman to set up with. I guess. How odd. She must trust me." Victoria smiled at Nate's mother, trying to be reassuring. "I can definitely help you with this. There are plenty of fantastic single women who I think admire Nate already at our company, and he's such a catch. I don't think it'll be hard for him to find a great match." Nate's mom recoiled in disgust. She wondered internally, is this horrific old modern woman suggesting that she marry my son, but find some other unfortunate young woman to bear children for them? She's so greedy. What a harlot. This unholy scheme should be on the news. Victoria was supremely confused about Nate's mother's reaction. "What's the matter? Did I say something wrong?" "You've already wasted so much of my son's time," Mrs. Evans breathed. Victoria was stunned, starting to feel a little indignant. "I do think he needs to put the work in himself. I will do my best to help him, and he deserves to be happy, but it's not my responsibility." "Not your responsibility, you hooligan!" Nate's mother angrily slammed the table. "My son is brilliant. He had such a bright future, but his best years are behind him now." Victoria wished she could soothe the woman's fit. "I said he was a catch," she said, but this seemed to only enrage her further. Victoria looked at the people drinking their coffees at the tables around them, many of which were trying to politely look away, but were starting to look alarmed. "Are you all right? Let's take a deep breath. We can do it together." "You do not need to tell me when to breathe," Nate's mother yelled, My baby boy is lost to me forever. I said I would help you find him a partner, Victoria cried. Of course, you are one of those people who calls their spouse a partner. Nate's mother fired back. You're in a marriage, not a law firm or at a pickleball practice. She breathed more heavily. You aren't young anymore, Victoria Park. Unmarried with an 18-year-old daughter. If you were like this now, what will your daughter think of you when she grows up? Victoria blinked. What am I like now? I'm so sorry. You! Nate's mother exploded, her breathing becoming raspy, and she put a hand over her chest, covering her heart. You! Victoria stood up quickly, reaching out toward Mrs. Evans. Ma'am, are you all right? What's happening to you? She batted Victoria's hands away, then pointed at her purse. My pills! My pills, I have them in my bag. She panted heavily, her eyes fluttering open and shut. Oh, good, 1 second. Victoria bent down, rifling through the woman's purse. She pulled out a small orange bottle of pills and held them out. These? Yes. Mrs. Evans' lips were growing pale. Please sit, Victoria said as she opened the pills. Mrs. Evans complied, too out of it to put up a fuss or try to fight Victoria on every point anymore. How many do you need? 4, she wheezed. Victoria pulled out 4 pills, then noticed that both of their water glasses and coffee mugs were empty and swore. Nate's mom rolled her eyes. Victoria turned to someone at the table next to them. Can I have your water? It's an emergency. The person eagerly held up their glasses of water toward Victoria. Victoria took it and held it out with the pills, but Nate's mother waved it away, refusing. Still wheezing and clutching her heart, she flagged down a waiter who stood nearby and pointed at her own water glass. The waiter hurried to refill Nate's mom's water as quickly as they could, while Victoria threw up her hands in disbelief. Victoria gave Nate's mother the pills, and she took them with her own, newly full glass of water. She swallowed the medicine and slowly drank the rest of her water. Her breathing became easier, and her body more relaxed, but she still looked pale. The patrons and employees of the cafe started to return to their own business. Victoria folded her hands. Should we get you to a hospital? I can call an ambulance. Nate's mother shook her head. No need, I am fine. I have an appointment tomorrow. But this is why I insist on Nathaniel making better decisions. I have no choice but to worry about him, and will worry less only when he is finally making decisions that are best for him. Victoria shook her head. She wanted to disagree, feeling like this worldview was only harming Mrs. Evans, but didn't want to take the chance that saying anything to the contrary would send her into another cardiac episode. Mrs. Evans suddenly raised a hand, waving weakly to someone in the distance. A middle-aged man walked toward them. As he saw Mrs. Evans' slack posture in her chair, he started jogging towards them. Darling, what happened to you? Nothing, she replied, annoyed. Let's go. All right, he said, still concerned, but he helped her up out of the chair. With all of this, and also the fact that his forehead and nose looked like the spitting image of Nate's, Victoria assumed this was Nate's father. Victoria put the medicine bottle into Nate's mother's purse and handed it to him with a tight smile. She should probably be careful and get some rest. Nate's mother sniffed as she glared at Victoria, wobbling with her husband's support. You take yourself home and think about everything I said. She thought bitterly that if her ill heart had not gotten in the way, she would have gladly thrown a mug of coffee all over Victoria Park. But she just had to endure the indignation of her presence for now. Victoria certainly disliked the woman, but also didn't want to refuse her at that moment. She knew she was very sick and pitied her. She took a breath and tried to focus on being the bigger person. Okay, I'll do my best to make Nate happy. Mrs. Evans let out a wheezing gasp. Her eyes rolled back in her head and she fainted on the spot. An ambulance! Mr. Evans cried. Somebody call an ambulance! Victoria was still baffled about what had gone so wrong with their coffee that Nate's mother had a cardiac arrest. She seemed so upset. Victoria thought to herself as she walked back to the Confluence offices. I guess I need to find a good woman to set him up with, and quickly. She entered the Confluence lobby and saw that the elevator doors were about to close. Hang on, she said as she hurried to catch it, extending her hand to stop the doors. But they opened before she reached them. As the doors opened, she saw that 2 people were inside, and she knew them both. It was Nate Evans himself and his ex-girlfriend Lisa, who was also his aspiring future girlfriend. Victoria, Nate said pleasantly, moving aside to make room for her. He was happy to see her. What a coincidence, Lisa sneered, looking like she smelled something bad. She stepped to close the gap between herself and Nate, preventing Victoria from standing next to him. Victoria stepped into the elevator, dreading the ride up. Why did I have to run into them right now? And why is this elevator always so slow? Lisa narrowed her eyes at Victoria. Nate and I just went to lunch, she said as though she were calling out the boundary of her property. It was delicious. We split a salad and a pasta. Sounds good, Victoria smiled. She looked at Nate, uncertain as she wondered internally, should I tell Nate that his mom is in the hospital? His mom said so many times that it needed to be a secret that we had coffee together. And maybe he already knows she's in the hospital anyway. But he looks pretty happy. Though if she were my mom, I might be happy too. Lisa noticed that it looked like Victoria was about to say something. She thought to herself, I was right to think I need to keep close tabs on Nate. At least now Victoria's feeling awkward. Because he's mine. Nate eyed Victoria with concern. Are you feeling all right? Where did you go for lunch? Victoria began, still debating over whether she should spill his mom's secret. The elevator chimed, the doors sliding open. Victoria was about to decide against it and rush out when Nate spoke. Why don't you come with me to my office and tell me? I need to put my stuff down. But Nate, Lisa said, taking a step toward him. She was uncertain. Nate was confused. Isn't your office the other way? Lisa's eyes darted between him and Victoria. I have something I need to tell you. Oh, all right. Nate tilted his head, puzzled. I'll just be a second with Victoria. Why don't you swing by in 10 minutes? We could go make coffee in the break room. Lisa didn't have anything to say in response, and Nate smiled as if the matter were put to bed. He hurried toward his office. Victoria wasn't sure whether she should follow him. Mrs. Evans had fainted at just the idea of Victoria helping Nate out. She didn't want to make things worse. Besides, she thought Lisa was a horrible match for Nate, or really for anyone. Although, Victoria thought to herself, the thought of Lisa and Mrs. Evans having to fight for the rest of their lives does give me some joy. Nate noticed Victoria wasn't behind him. Victoria, are you coming? He also noticed that Lisa was still watching both of them, her jealousy blazing all over her face. He was exasperated. He thought his relationship with Lisa was different now, and they were getting along as friends. But it was clear that her obsession with Victoria and his feelings for her hadn't actually gone anywhere. That was why he had asked her to grab lunch with him. But he thought that allowing her any sort of relationship with him must be a mistake. Lisa called out sarcastically, "Enjoy," as she spun away from the two of them in a huff. Her high heels clacked on the ground as she walked angrily to her office. Nate shook his head and sighed. "Sorry about that," he said to Victoria. "Let's go." She did follow him to his office, still trying to decide on how exactly she should say anything at all. Since she looked so worried as they entered his office, he closed the door. "Victoria, what's wrong? It looks like you have something on your mind." She sighed, looking up at the ceiling. This is tough." Nate grew increasingly concerned. "Here, do you want some water?" He pulled a bottle out from a mini fridge. She took it from him, still tense. Thank you. So actually, your mom asked me to have lunch with her today. Nate's heart skipped a beat. Why did she do that? He was torn in that moment whether he wished he were in a rocket to the moon or wished that his mom were on a rocket to the moon. It's nothing, Victoria said lightly, trying to wave it away. It seems like she's been having heart problems, and she said she has an appointment tomorrow. But at the end of our coffee, she seemed a little anxious and fainted. What? Nate was stunned. My mother fainted? Yes. Victoria nodded. Your dad was with her. I called an ambulance and it took her to the hospital. The EMT said she was stable and should be totally fine, but both of your parents should be at the hospital now. That is so crazy, Nate said, absorbing all of this. Wow, what is going on? Thank you for telling me, Victoria. He pulled out his phone and immediately dialed his dad's number. His dad picked up quickly. Dad, I heard about Mom, Nate said. How is she now? Nothing much had happened. It's not a big deal. She's okay, his dad answered. He also felt a little guilty. It wasn't like him to secretly meet with his son's undesirable girlfriend to try to convince her to leave him. But both of Nate's parents didn't want Nate and Victoria to be together. How long will you two be there? Nate asked, picking his jacket up from where he'd placed it a moment before. Which hospital are you in? I'll head there right away. No need, don't leave work, his dad said. It's fine now. The doctor said she can be discharged after the medication in the IV is fully in her system. She just was anxious and her blood pressure got a little high. That's no good for her heart, with the condition it's in lately. Nate was frustrated and panicked after getting this news about his mom. Since you know excitement isn't good for her, what are you both doing running around the city when she was supposed to go see a doctor tomorrow? Nate's father choked as he tried to disagree. Nate could hear his mom speak up from the room where his father was. How did we raise a son who would say something to us like that? I'm lying in a hospital bed and he blames me? He's running around with whatever nonsensical woman he wants to run around with and dares to say such a thing. Nate's father turned away from the phone to quiet his wife. Keep your voice down, he urged. This is a hospital. His mom retorted, Since I'm already in a hospital, why don't I just keel over and die? Shh. Nate's father frantically shushed her. Nate felt like he was going to have his own heart attack at their behavior. You two are out of control. Are you kidding me? His dad turned back to the phone, trying to regain control of the situation. Nathaniel, don't worry about your mother right now. We will talk about it when we get home tonight. I know you still have work to do today. Nate's dad had been suffering since the moment he set foot in the city. He loved living near a lot of big trees and taking care of his lawn and his dog. He imagined New York to be a concrete and steel hell that only heathens enjoyed, and his irresponsible son was living in sin there. Nate took a deep breath. Dad, take good care of Mom. I'll head over there after I'm done here today. His dad grumbled, but finally agreed. They hung up. Nate tossed his phone down on his desk with a clatter inside. He looked apologetically at Victoria, who was drinking the water he gave her. I'm so sorry, Victoria. My mom has a pretty big temper. Yes, she does. Victoria raised her eyebrows and nodded. She does have a way she likes things to be done, and if they're not that way, it seems like it makes her spin out of control. Nate rubbed his eyes. You hit the nail on the head. Don't take it personally, it's the way she is. What did she say that made her so upset? Victoria smiled lightly. It's nothing. She's just worried about you like most moms, even if she's a little over the top. She's worried about me? Nate was baffled. She was so worried about him that she put herself in the hospital? It didn't make sense. She wants you to have a grandchild. Victoria's smile became a grimace. She wants me to help you find a girlfriend. What? Nate was stunned. What's wrong? Victoria asked, confused. I don't know what my mom said to you, he said, blinking, trying to piece this together. But she definitely did not mean to ask you that. Victoria was more confused than ever. Why am I in the middle of all this? Across town, Olivia and Violet stepped into a sleek elevator inside the lobby of the luxurious public hotel. The elevator operator pressed the button for the penthouse suite, and they began to glide upwards. Olivia stared unfocused at the slit where the elevator doors met. Now to finally meet the mysterious Mason Crawford, she thought. Let's find out what he wants with Millie. The elevator dinged and the doors smoothly slid open. A beautiful vista of the New York City skyline was visible on every side of Olivia, and it took her breath away. The penthouse suite was stunning. Mason Crawford stood with his back to her, admiring the scenery himself. The first thing she noticed was that his hair and the shape of his back and shoulders looked quite similar to Chris's. He turned and smiled at her in greeting, and Olivia realized this was how Mason and Chris were different. Mason appeared much gentler and much more at ease than Chris Jones. Olivia smiled. Mason Crawford, nice to finally meet you. You seem like you're in a good mood. He raised a crystal glass of whiskey to her. Of course I'm in a good mood. I was invited to a meeting with the esteemed Chairman Johnson. I'm very honored. Olivia laughed. This is how we do things in New York City. We take pride in our hospitality. Olivia walked to a dining table and a member of the staff was suddenly behind her, pulling out her chair. She sat down. Though, unfortunately, I do have to speak with you about how you seem to be pursuing and intimidating my people. You have to know that this is against the rules. Mason frowned lightly. The chairman misunderstands. I just wanted to invite Miss Millie to have a chat with me. Olivia narrowed her eyes and smiled a fake smile. Most invitations come on a nice piece of stationery, or maybe in an email, not with armed thugs stalking people in the street. Mason shrugged. I like making sure my messages are received. Olivia leaned back slightly. Why don't I think there's anything to talk about between Mason Crawford and Millie Brown? You two don't have anything in common. He sipped his whiskey. If I tell you the reason, I'm afraid it will be difficult for me to even meet with her at all. Mason sauntered toward Olivia and gestured to a staff member who brought over a glass and a pitcher. I know you work hard, so I had them bring up some orange juice instead of anything that might impair your ability to be productive. She laughed again. You're so thoughtful, Mason. It's just that I don't quite understand still what you mean. Why are you avoiding my question? Am I being unreasonable? That's not what I meant. He swirled his glass. I just feel that Miss Millie... He squinted out at the skyline, debating what to say and how to say it. Olivia grew impatient. Mason, if you have any thoughts, please share them. Mason smiled. I've just heard that Millie has quite a gift for numbers and is your right-hand woman. I lack such a talent under my command, so I thought maybe she would be amenable to a conversation. Olivia raised her eyebrows. This is bold. You're trying to poach her? He smiled, taking another sip while he held eye contact with her. I just feel that such a good bird should choose which tree to live on. You don't have to worry too much about it. If she isn't excited about this idea, I certainly wouldn't force her. I don't think she is, Olivia said, so you definitely don't need to force her. He paced a couple of lazy steps across the hotel suite carpet. You'll forgive me if I'd prefer to hear this from Millie personally. He eyed Olivia, then smiled. What's wrong? Is Chairman Johnson, the teenage business whiz, not confident enough in her relationships that she's afraid she'll be defeated by me? Olivia gave him her fake smile again. That's very funny. She raised her glass. It's also funny to think about you coming all the way to New York City just for my friend's mathematics talents. Did you really? Of course not, he smiled. I also have business to attend to in the city. Olivia studied his face for clues. What a charming, opaque man. As far as I've been told, the Crawford family has agreed not to set foot in New York City because it is the territory of the Pells. But you want to come to New York to attend a business. Won't this cause problems?" Mason's easy smile finally stiffened, and Olivia noticed with satisfaction. "The chairman really knows a lot." "I do," Olivia replied. "I wonder if your intention is to provoke the Pell family. You want them to do something violent." Mason sighed. "You must be joking. All the best business leaders have a great sense of humor, don't they?" He looked out into the distance as he continued. "In fact, the Crawfords who made agreements with the Pells don't represent all of us. Business is not good right now, so we can't expand our business under the current agreement." "Is that so?" Olivia asked, feeling like she caught him. She turned to Violet, a strong, silent shadow by the elevator. "Violet, remember to ask for Mason's contact details. In the future, our family might have a chance to—" She thought about which word to choose. "Cooperate with Mason Crawford." "Yes, miss." Violet nodded. Mason laughed. "Chairman Johnson's business dealings never stop, do they? Our family should be afraid of the younger generation." "What an odd thing for you to say," Olivia remarked. "You seem consumed yourself by your family's business and its opportunities, or lack of them." Mason stared into her eyes for a beat from where he stood. Olivia got goosebumps, but kept her face impassive. "The chairman asked me to meet today for other reasons besides Miss Millie. Didn't she?" he asked. "Of course." Olivia brushed a speck of lint off her sleeve. "I was wondering if you had any thoughts about real estate opportunities in London." Mason smiled, interested. "Investing in real estate in London has always been a smart idea for anyone in the world who can afford it. It's important economically and politically to a lot of different regions. But any fraternity brother freshly graduated with a business degree could have told you that. Why are you interested in the topic?" "Because I want to make money, of course." Olivia drew a circle with her index finger on the table. "I know anybody could tell me that investing there is a good idea. But I thought you might have some unique ideas about where specifically to invest." Mason paused for a moment. "Well, I'm certainly interested in this area and have my thoughts, but it's all just for fun. I've never actually had skin in the game or proven my instincts in it myself. I would think you would find better advice from Chris Jones." "Oh, is that so?" Olivia almost laughed. "Since you have your eyes on business opportunities for the Crawfords and you are allowed to safely do whatever you want in London, I am so curious why you haven't made any investments there yourself." He turned away from her, embarrassed. "The Crawfords' business decisions are not up to me alone. I'm sure you can understand, Chairman Johnson, that the matter is not simple." "Oh, is that so?" She folded her hands and leaned forward on the table with a cunning look in her eyes. "Isn't it so simple that you need to poach from me?" He privately cursed Olivia for being so difficult to deal with. He knew she was trying to get him to lower his guard and that she'd already been more successful than he hoped. He couldn't formulate a response and instead stayed silent. Olivia was trying to read Mason's mind, but she was finding it difficult. It's not that she couldn't break through. It's that his thoughts were empty. Olivia was surprised. "I've never experienced this before," Olivia thought. "His mind isn't wandering. He isn't giving anything away that I can pick up on. Was he trained against powers like mine? That wouldn't make sense." Olivia decided that the most likely answer was that Mason was simply so focused on their current conversation that he was keeping his mind completely blank so as not to get distracted. Olivia stood. "Anyway, I hope you can understand, Mason. If you want to see any of my people, please use a less shady method. A bunch of armed men blocked the door of a girl's house. How rude." Mason finally understood why Olivia came to meet with him. She was warning him away. "You are right, Chairman. That was rude of me." Seeing her with new eyes, Mason felt complicated feelings stir as he looked at her. He liked that she was fiercely protecting her friend. Currently, there was a very good chance that Millie was the missing daughter of the Crawford family. But there was also a chance that she was not, so he did not want to tell Millie openly yet. There was a lot of investigating that his family wanted to do, and it needed to be done surreptitiously. Though he couldn't say so, Mason hoped to protect Millie against the Pells, especially if they were to find out she was a Crawford. But seeing Olivia be so protective of Millie, he felt a little like the burden was lifted from him. Olivia buttoned her blazer, preparing to leave. "Well then, do you need anything else?" Mason smiled. "I intended to be more mysterious than this, but to tell you the truth, I will only be in New York for 2 more days. Since Miss Millie holds such a special place in Chairman Johnson's heart and in her business, I will not make any move to take her away from you." He finished the last mouthful of his drink. "But after this meeting, I hope that Chairman Johnson will come visit me more often." "Oh, that's very sweet of you to say." Olivia smiled, turning from him into the elevator. Violet followed her in. "Have a safe trip, Mason Crawford," she called as the door started to close. He raised his glass after her and they began to descend. Olivia was relieved about how this meeting had gone. For now. Mason may have been able to hide the truth from me for now, Olivia thought, but I will find out soon enough. I always do. Olivia left the public hotel and went straight to Park Inc.'s offices. It still gave Olivia a thrill to walk into the building, and not as some visitor or worker, or even as the daughter of the family who owned the company, but as the head of it all. I've come a long, long way from my previous life, that is for sure. She greeted the people working in the lobby and rode the elevator up. She passed by the conference room on their floor and saw Jeff Dreyer in a meeting. She glanced in through the glass door and nodded to his secretary before returning to her office. When Olivia walked in, 10 documents that needed her approval awaited on her desk. She opened each one and read over them carefully. Ultimately, she approved 4 of them and marked the other 6 as pending. She still had questions that she wanted answered before signing off on them. Olivia called Violet Cartwright into her office. "Please contact these companies that wanted these contracts signed and discussed my suggested changes with them. I'll sign once the changes are added." "Right away." Violet nodded and took the documents. As soon as Violet left, Jeff Dreyer gently knocked on Olivia's door. "Look who's here," he joked good-naturedly. I know, I'm actually here. It's kind of a big deal." Olivia smiled and put down her pen. "I'm sorry to put so much on your plate while I'm out. I hope it hasn't been too hard on you." "Nothing I can't handle. I don't mind having to work a little harder. Makes me feel like I'm really earning my salary." Jeff joked. "Thanks, boss, for putting food on my table." "Don't be silly, you're well worth it." Olivia rolled her eyes and waved her hand at Jeff. "I hear more chatter out there. Is the meeting you were in over?" "It just ended." Jeff nodded. "I actually came to ask you a quick question. Have you heard of the Rose family?" "The Rose family?" Olivia frowned, thinking. Her dastardly former fiancé from her previous life, Mark DeLillo, was a member of the Rose family. She blinked the memories away and kept her cool. "Vaguely, why?" "Recently, a guy who claims to be from the Rose family has been buying up all the retail property around New York City." "Does this have any impact on us?" Olivia asked. "It does." Jeff nodded. "We should be expanding to the Queens area, but if this guy buys up all the retail property in Queens, we don't have any options left." Queens? Olivia suddenly remembered that in her previous life, Mark DeLillo had benefited significantly from the up-and-coming business boom in Queens. Brilliant, talented, handsome Mark DeLillo. Olivia thought to herself darkly. Not to mention evil and backstabbing. "Yes," Jeff explained, snapping Olivia back to reality. "My plan is to open a branch in the Queens area, so I think Park Inc. should buy some space now. The paperwork should have already been on your desk." "Oh," Olivia nodded. "I did check that one out. I think it will work. Does this directly clash with the Rose family?" "Yes, I'm getting to 3 places before this mysterious Rose man does," Jeff said. Okay, continue getting whatever you can, Olivia encouraged. That is the plan, Jeff smiled. I thought I heard of the Rose family, but I wasn't completely sure I was remembering right. That's why I asked if you were familiar. Oh, you could say I'm familiar. Olivia smiled with a devilish glint in her eye. I'm definitely familiar. Olivia's mind flashed back to all the dark memories of Mark. I couldn't forget even if I wanted to, she thought. Sorry, Mark, but if you wish to make a comeback and have the Rose family rise again in New York City, you'll have to ask me for permission this time around. Do you really think you can succeed with the help of some mysterious person doing the work for you? Think again. Then I'll trust your judgment, Jeff nodded. He felt it was a profitable decision, but he was only the vice president after all and wanted Olivia's approval. Most of the things he hoped to get going still needed the official green light from Olivia. You will oversee it yourself, Olivia decided. In terms of cost, I trust your judgment. Don't worry about coming to me. Queens will be a good investment. Thank you. Jeff nodded gratefully, then shifted to a more hesitant tone. One other thing. Have you seen the rumors floating around the internet? Go ahead and tell me, Olivia sighed. It's in regards to the name change of the company from Johnson Inc. to Park Inc. Do you want to hold a press conference? Jeff asked, concerned. He knew from experience that this kind of unfair scrutiny often came with female leaders, especially younger ones. Whether it was reasonable or not, they would have to navigate it carefully. Don't worry about that for now, Olivia said confidently. This isn't the first time I've dealt with rumors. I can handle a few more. Sorry, excuse me, the secretary said as they knocked on the door. Please come in, Olivia invited. When I passed by the lobby to send out the contracts, I heard someone say they were here to visit you, the secretary explained. Olivia and Jeff exchanged confused glances, then looked back at Olivia's secretary. Who was it? Olivia asked. They're from the Kong family in Philadelphia, the secretary answered. The Kong family? Olivia's eyes narrowed slightly and a sinister smile came over her face. Send them in right away. All right, the secretary nodded and left. The Kong family? Jeff frowned as soon as the secretary left. What is the Kong family doing here? Maybe they're afraid that I'll make the same mistake again, Olivia darkly muttered to herself. What was that? Jeff asked, puzzled. Nothing, Olivia covered. Do you have anything else for me, Jeff? No, that's all for now. Jeff shook his head. I'll leave your way before you meet with your guest. Okay, thank you. Olivia nodded to Jeff and he walked out of her office. Once Jeff reached the elevator, he saw who had come to meet with Olivia. There were 4 of them in total. The one who appeared to be leading the group was a man dressed in a white suit. He seemed relaxed and refined. A man and a woman flanked him on his left and right. The woman was dressed in professional attire, probably his assistant. The man was older, probably over 50. He had a confident, strong way of walking. He had the build and grace of a martial artist. The last of the group was a man in his 30s, and he was clearly the muscle. He was huge and strong, and he wore a brown suit. All 4 of them walked out of the elevator behind Olivia's secretary. Vice President? The secretary politely nodded to Jeff. Jeff smiled comfortably at the assistant and the man in the white suit. He nodded back. This way, please. Olivia's secretary led them to her office. Jeff stared after them as they walked down the hall before he got into the elevator. Olivia's office door was already open. The 4 Kong family visitors entered, and the man in the white suit smiled at Olivia. Miss Johnson, long time no see. It really has been a long time. Olivia smiled and stood to greet them. Please, have a seat. Thank you, the man said as he sat on the luxurious leather sofa across from Olivia's desk. Before he settled in, his eyes swept over the office and made sure there was not a trace of any dust. Once he was satisfied, he relaxed into the chair. This is my assistant, Esther. Greg gestured at the woman who accompanied him. She nodded at Olivia, and Olivia nodded back. Thank you for joining us. Olivia said to all of them. "Miss Johnson, it seems you've been very busy with work lately," Greg began. "Nowhere near as busy as you, Greg," Olivia smiled. She turned to Violet. "Could you bring us some tea, please?" Violet nodded and glanced at the 4 people sitting in Olivia's office. The sight of them made her frown slightly. She noticed they all looked very strong and intimidating. Even the older man seemed stronger than herself. Violet reluctantly left the office and hurried to return with the tea. She didn't like the idea of leaving Olivia alone with them. "So what have you been up to recently, Greg?" Olivia moved to join them on the sofa rather than continue sitting behind her desk. "I noticed you didn't attend Knife God's last knife ceremony. In fact, the Kong family was the only one of the 7 families that didn't make an appearance at that event. It was a little surprising." "There you are incorrect." Greg sat up straighter. "From my understanding, there was one other family that did not attend either." "Ooh," Olivia asked cautiously without giving away any surprise. "The Park family," Greg answered. Olivia narrowed her eyes. What is he trying to say? Olivia was a little taken aback by Greg Kong's point about the Parks being absent from Royal Perry's ceremony, but she didn't show it on her face. Her friendly smile remained rooted in place. "Well, we both know that situation is a little different. The Park family hasn't exactly been welcome for some time." Olivia shifted the subject back to the matter at hand. "You still haven't shared with me why you've come all the way to New York City." "I heard the Johnson family left New York, isn't that right?" Greg answered. "It's true, but it's been that way for some time now. It seems a little late to be visiting for that reason." Olivia met Greg's eyes. "Could it be that you have other motives for traveling here at this time?" Greg smiled at Olivia's bluntness. "Miss Johnson, I'll get right to it then. I can wrap my head around you taking over Johnson Inc., but what I don't understand is why you changed the name of Johnson Inc. to Park Inc." Greg took a breath and added, "Is the Park family making an official comeback in the United States?" "I don't know about an official U.S. comeback for the Park family exactly," Olivia answered diplomatically. She knew what Greg was after with his visit, but she was still a little surprised by his straightforwardness. "I guess I did set the tone," she thought. "If it's not for a Park family comeback, then what is your intention with the name change?" Greg asked. "You seem worried about my intentions." Olivia smiled coolly. "It's my job to worry about them. The Kong family is the leader of the 7 great families. We must maintain the peace among them. I apologize that my questions seem so blunt, but I have to ask them. Besides, it saves us all time, doesn't it?" Olivia paused to consider her answer. "I don't know if you've heard that my father left the Johnson family. I sided with him, and so I am no longer representing the Johnson family of the 7 families either." "Oh?" Greg looked surprised. "Is that so?" He also noticed that Olivia dropped the great when mentioning the 7 great families, and wondered if this was a subtle slight. "Yes," Olivia nodded. "I did not take over the Johnson family directly in the traditional sense. I gained control of the company financially. What I'm doing is independent of your 7 families since I'm operating outside of them now." "Miss Johnson, you seem to forget that the Parks are also members of the 7 great families," Greg said, emphasizing the word great as he smiled knowingly at Olivia. "Is that really true, though? What does membership mean?" Olivia asked. "I know that when the Park family went bankrupt, the 7 families did not lend any help or support, but instead they joined forces to push the Park family out of the U.S. What kind of membership is that? I think members is too strong of a word for the Park family status, don't you? Why would they consider the 7 families now?" Greg nodded, understanding Olivia's point. "The Kong family is only interested in keeping the peace and balance of power among the 7 great families," Greg reiterated. "I'm very sorry about what happened in the past, but I have come here to prevent a similar thing from happening again. I hope you can understand that. I do understand that, but you're not acknowledging once again that I'm not a member of the 7 families. During the Knife God's last knife ceremony, Pete, Pell, and Bruno, my own uncle, said as much in front of everyone there. What do I do going forward is my business, not that of the 7 families. Violet returned just then with the tea Olivia ordered. Olivia reached out and accepted her cup, then turned back to Greg. If you're here to manage 7 families' business, then you've come to the wrong place. What goes on with them is also none of my business. Greg looked at Olivia and frowned slightly. Perhaps you can still explain to me then the reason why you changed the name of Johnson Inc. to Park Inc. That point is the one I'm still struggling to reconcile. Since you're so persistent, I don't mind explaining it to you, Olivia said before she took a sip of tea and set her cup down. It's pretty simple. My father's family name is Johnson, obviously. My mother's family name is Park. Since I took this place over from the Johnson family, I didn't want to continue the name. Since I'm no longer representing the Johnsons, Park was the other option I had. Olivia shrugged. Or did you want it to be Kong? Maybe you expected the Charbaldys, Shooks, and all the other families to change their business name to Kong too? I see, and no, of course not, Greg replied. I misunderstood your reasoning initially. Does that clear everything up? Olivia asked brightly. It does, and I appreciate you taking the time with me. We have no problem here from what you've described. If Andrew Park himself returns, though, then we'll have an issue. Greg leaned forward in his seat. After all, the Park family is part of the 7 great families. I was too young and wasn't involved in how the Parks were treated in the past, but I still consider them part of our group, and I hope to do my best to protect the 7 great families' interest, including the Parks. I appreciate your good intentions. Olivia smiled. Is there anything else you were hoping to discuss with me? No, that about covers it, Greg said and stood up, signaling he was satisfied and ready to leave. Even though your father has separated from the Johnson family, he is still a descendant of the Johnson family. I hope you will one day reconsider your stance concerning your role in the 7 great families. I will think about it, Olivia said and shook hands with Greg. Violet, will you please accompany Greg Kong and his friends to the lobby? Of course. Violet nodded. Olivia's eyes darkened as she watched Greg and his entourage leave. The Kong family thinks they're very important, don't they? Olivia thought. Do they really think the Kong family is the most senior of the 7 families? When Violet returned, she found Olivia sitting on the sofa, lost in thought. Is there something wrong, Miss Olivia? Violet asked. Oh, no, nothing. Olivia came back to the present and sighed. How are the Johnsons doing in London? It looks like they're still developing steadily in London. I estimate that they will be able to make a name for themselves in about a year or 2. I guess it's because they still have enough funding. No major changes otherwise, Violet answered. Olivia snorted. Even if they have the funding, Jack wouldn't dare to make any big moves right now. Even he and Bruno are not that stupid to attract that kind of attention. Violet looked confused. Then why did the Kongs come to talk with you? Was it really to welcome Mr. Park back to the United States? Is that even happening? Of course not. Olivia laughed. She was surprised that was Violet's theory. Greg Kong wanted to come and suss out whether I'll turn out like my grandfather and cause trouble for the 7 families. Violet still misunderstood Olivia's meaning and to which grandfather she referred. Why would Olivia become the next Mr. Park? She wondered. She carefully sized Olivia up. The way she conducted herself was very good and she didn't have a temper. It seemed like she was more similar to Andrew Park than the rest of the family. But is she the next Mr. Park? Can she really fill his shoes? Violet had trouble seeing it. I believe the Kong family wants to stamp out the Parks once and for all. Olivia narrowed her eyes and looked out the window at the cityscape below. A dangerous look came over her. I'm afraid it might not only be the Kong family either. There are a lot of people who want me and Andrew Park to disappear. What should we do next, then? Violet frowned. What should we do? Olivia smiled conspiratorially. We'll have to wait and see for now. Right. Violet nodded her head. She trusted Olivia, but she still had her own concerns. Olivia kept her eyes down, but quickly listened to Violet's thoughts. If the Kong family really does intend to make things difficult for Olivia, will Olivia be able to handle it? Should I inform Mr. Park? Olivia quickly looked up at Violet. Please do not tell my grandfather. Don't mention a single word of this to him, you understand? Of course, I promise. Violet nodded. She did not reveal how surprised she was by Olivia's request. This young lady really is amazing, she thought. She guessed what I was going to do without me saying anything, almost as if she read my mind. Hearing that last thought, Olivia wondered, did I just give myself away? Miss, where are you headed next? Violet asked. Olivia was glad that Violet's thoughts didn't linger on her seemingly supernatural ability to know what Violet was thinking. Olivia checked her phone and saw the time. The afternoon was already half gone. Olivia opened her mouth to answer Violet, but before she said a word, her phone started ringing. Sorry, Olivia said to Violet, gesturing at her phone. Violet nodded and waited patiently. Olivia, thank goodness you answered, Millie said breathlessly. Millie? Are you okay? What's wrong? Olivia asked. The urgency in Millie's voice had her worried. Violet watched Olivia concerned. Lena was pushed down the stairs, Millie said quickly. She's already at the hospital. She what? Olivia asked in disbelief. Her heart pounded with worry. I leave school for half a day and something terrible has already happened. Hang on, I'll be right there, she said to Millie and ended the call. We have to go to New York City Orthopedic Hospital, Olivia said urgently to Violet. Let's go. Violet nodded. The whole way to the hospital, Olivia's brows were deeply furrowed from worry. Everyone likes Lena, Olivia thought to herself. She has never hurt anyone. Why would someone push her down the stairs? Olivia replayed Millie's words from the phone call in her head. She said Lena was pushed, which definitely doesn't sound like an accident. Someone did this on purpose. Who would be violent against Lena of all people for no good reason? A light bulb suddenly turned on in Olivia's head. The Transfer Student Success Club. Olivia remembered what happened to Phil Eggers in the alley. It matched up with what she remembered of the club in her previous life. The timing and the motive fit together too well. Of course they're the ones who did this. Damn that Transfer Student Success Club. They've provoked me before I even had the chance to deal with them. A dark look came over Olivia as she made her decision. Fine. It's their choice. I'll handle them now rather than later. They have no idea who they're dealing with. When Olivia and Violet arrived at the hospital, Olivia called Millie again to find where they were, and Millie led her to Lena's room. How is Lena? Olivia asked with concern as they walked. I just went to handle the paperwork. Morgana has been staying with her and taking care of her. They've already applied the plaster for a cast, but I'm not sure what all her injuries are. Millie explained. She might already have a cast on, I just know she definitely got hurt. Adam had us come with her to the hospital. There might be more visitors after school. Olivia shook her head, angry at whoever pushed Lena down the stairs. It happened so suddenly, Millie said, still in an anxious daze. Before any of us could help her, she was already at the bottom of the stairs. It's not your fault, Olivia said comfortingly. Thanks, but I still feel terrible, Millie answered. Finally, Millie stopped in front of a hospital room door. Well, this is it, she said, and pushed the door open. As soon as they walked in, Olivia immediately saw Morgana chatting away nonstop at Lena's bedside. Lena nodded along enthusiastically to whatever Morgana was talking about. She was dressed in a hospital gown, and her left leg was covered in a large cast. In spite of her situation, Olivia was relieved to see that Lena seemed to be in good spirits. Lena looked up and beamed when she saw Olivia and Millie. "You're here! Thank God, I'm so bored." "Hey!" Morgana frowned. "Not about you," Lena said quickly. "How are you doing? What's hurt?" Olivia asked, looking Lena over. She noticed Lena had a bruise on her forehead and a scratch on her chin as well. "I'm going to kill whoever did this," Olivia thought behind her smile at Lena. "I think it looks a little worse than it actually is," Lena said and pointed to her leg. "It's just a fracture. The doctor says I'll wear a cast for like 100 days until it heals. The worst injury is to my summer vacation." "You're already thinking about running around? Look at your leg and your face." Millie felt a lump of emotion rising from her chest into her throat. Suddenly, Millie was interrupted by someone gently tugging on her sleeve from behind. She turned around and saw it was Cameron Pell trying to get her attention. Her upset feelings instantly dissipated. Millie smiled at Cameron and sighed. It was the first time she had relaxed a little all day ever since Lena got hurt. She still remembered the strange scene and it scared her to death. Her mind had gone completely blank in the moment, and before she knew it, Lena was already unconscious at the bottom of the stairs. She shuddered and looked away from Cameron and back to Lena. "She's going to be okay," Millie reminded herself. "Are you in a lot of pain?" Olivia asked Lena. "My head is still buzzing a little. Otherwise, I feel surprisingly good from whatever they've given me." Lena gestured to her hand. "The doctor said it's normal, though. It's a mild concussion, and they told me to be careful." "How far did you fall down the stairs?" Olivia frowned at Lena's leg. "I fell down 2 flights of stairs." Lena looked at her fingers and lifted up 2 of them. "It was Amanda Wayne. She's been pestering me like a lunatic." "She really is crazy," Millie said angrily. "I'm gonna find her and—" "There's no need," Morgana suddenly interjected. "Amanda Wayne, Morgana, what's gone into you?" Olivia exclaimed in surprise. She couldn't imagine why Morgana wouldn't want to get revenge on Amanda for what she did to Lena. Revenge is right up her alley. "Nothing," Morgana hesitated. "It's just that Amanda seems to have some pretty bad injuries herself. Already. She also fell down the stairs." "She also fell down the stairs?" Olivia asked, stunned for a moment. "Amanda pushed Lena, but she got tangled up with Lena when she did it, and they both fell. It happened after school outside of campus, so the teachers couldn't do anything. But it sounds like Amanda's in much worse shape from the fall. So there's some poetic justice?" Morgana shrugged. "Well, I'm glad Lena isn't worse." Olivia sighed. "Me too," Lena agreed. "This Transfer Student Success Club, though, it's really getting out of hand. I heard that a few other people have been injured by them, too. The school seems to know about it, but they can't intervene since these things keep happening outside of school." Just then, Francis and Sam Feinstein walked into Lena's hospital room. "Cameron, you walked so fast we couldn't catch up with you," Sam said. "Yeah," Francis agreed. "Here, Lena, we brought you a get well care package," he said, holding up a bag. "That is so sweet." Lena sighed at Francis with hearts in her eyes. Lena accepted the bag from Francis and pulled out a get well card signed by everyone in their class. Then she pulled out a little teddy bear that had a makeshift cast on its leg made of tissue. "I added the cast," Francis said shyly. "He's so cute. I love it. Thank you," Lena said. Tears came to her eyes. She was so moved. Olivia was still thinking about Amanda. Didn't they say Lena was pushed down the stairs? How did Amanda fall too? Olivia asked. Is she really stupid enough to push someone and then fall with them? "Oh, she didn't push me," Lena frowned. "It was even weirder. She stuck her foot out and tried to trip me, and then got tangled up when I fell." "That is pretty stupid," Morgana snorted. "Yeah, she thought she could get me, but the joke's on her." Lena nodded. "All those members of the Transfer Student Success Club will think twice before trying to push me down the stairs again. Yes, they will watch out. Very impressive." Everyone smiled and nodded. Cameron Pell also smiled. He suddenly raised his hand to stop everyone from laughing, and they quieted down and looked at him curiously. "What's wrong?" Millie asked. Cameron held his finger up to his lips to indicate they should be quiet. Olivia listened out with her mind and heard loud but indistinct thoughts rumbling toward them from down the hall. "Someone's coming," she whispered. A few seconds later, the door to Lena's room suddenly burst open, and a group of students filed in. The student who led them at the front looked at Lena sitting in her hospital bed and scolded. "You injured a founding member of the Transfer Student Success Club, Amanda Wayne. How are you going to make up for this? Tell us now," he shouted at Lena. "Yes, what are you going to do? You're in big trouble now." The students all chimed in and pointed at Lena with righteous indignation. "We're going to get justice for Amanda Wayne the easy way, or the hard way." "We're going to make you pay." In Lena's hospital room, everyone was taken aback as the Transfer Student Success Club members, led by the unflappable Jake Nevin, barged in. Millie, Olivia, Francis, Cameron Pell, and Sam Feinstein looked as if they couldn't believe the nerves of these guys. It was like they had no clue about personal space or manners. Millie stepped up to the plate, her eyes shooting daggers at Jake and his crew. "Really? You just barge in here and act like you own the place? What happened to Lena is on you guys. You should be really sorry for what you did." Jake Nevin just shrugged off Millie's words. "This is none of your business, Millie. We're here for Lena, not a lecture." Millie was floored by Jake's cheekiness. Olivia wasn't going to let that slide. She stepped in, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "Oh, enlighten us, Jake. Who do you think put Lena in this bed?" Jake, as cool as a cucumber, shot back. "That's on Lena. Amanda's the one who got really hurt. I can't believe how much pain she's in. Only a heartless person would do that." Millie was quick to fire back. "You're joking, right? Lena was defending herself. It's pretty clear who the real victim is here." Olivia chimed in, her tone sharp. "So in your world, standing up for yourself is wrong? Give me a break, Jake. It's pretty clear who's twisting the truth here." Jake stood there all smug like he hadn't a care in the world. "The fact remains, Lena's to blame for Amanda's injuries. That's just the way it is." Olivia's frustration escalated as she stood her ground, defending Lena against the baseless accusations of the Transfer Student Success Club members. "You know what? We should get the school involved," she asserted firmly. "If anyone bothers to check the cameras at school, it'll be crystal clear that Amanda is the one responsible." She continued, her voice rising with conviction. "Everyone at school, faculty included, knows Lena would never do something so harmful. Once the facts from the video recorded and the personal knowledge of her character come to light, everyone will see that Amanda Wayne got exactly what she deserved." The TSSC students rolled their eyes in unison, clearly annoyed by Olivia's confidence. Jake Nevin, trying to keep his cool, responded, "We shouldn't get the school involved, but not because Amanda's guilty." He went on, his voice laced with accusation. "We shouldn't involve the school because you and your friends clearly have everyone there wrapped around your fingers." The other TSSC members nodded in agreement with Jake's assessment. Jake pressed on, his tone becoming more accusatory. "You are all just manipulating those with power and authority at the school." Another TSSC student chimed in. "Getting the school involved would only benefit you, Olivia, Lena, and your friends. You're all colluding with the school authorities." A different TSSC member added, "It's clear there's only one powerful group at play at Marshall, and we'd rather create our own power. There's no need to report anything to the school." Yet another TSSC member spoke up, their voice dripping with cynicism. "There's no way to win when everyone's in bed with the devil." Jake looked at Olivia, his eyes challenging her as if daring to respond to the biting accusations. Millie's frustration with the situation reached its boiling point. "Say that again, Jake. I want to make sure I record it and play it for the school," she snapped, her voice sharp with anger. In a swift motion, she pulled out her phone, the screen lighting up as she started recording. The sight of Millie's phone, now capturing every word, sent a visible wave of panic through Jake. Jake, realizing the gravity of the situation, quickly tried to backtrack. Wait, you're misunderstanding us," he stammered, his earlier confidence waving under the pressure of being recorded. "What I meant was Olivia, Millie, and your friends are taking our words out of context." He glanced nervously at the phone in Millie's hands, his words now careful and measured. "The Transfer Student Success Club is here solely to help transfer students integrate into Marshall. That's our only goal, nothing more." Millie, her phone now tucked away, faced the TSSC students with a steely resolve. "You know, it's pretty ironic," she began, her voice steady but charged with emotion. "You call yourselves the Transfer Student Success Club, but have you ever stopped to consider what success really means at Marshall High?" She paused, letting her words sink in before continuing. "Success isn't about isolating yourselves or bullying others. It's about making this school a place where everyone, and I mean everyone, feels welcome and valued." Millie's gaze swept over her friends, Olivia, Lena, and the others. "I found my place here because of people like them. We created a community of true friendships." Turning back to Jake and his group, her tone took on an edge. "But your club? It's like you built a wall around yourselves. You don't open your doors to everyone. That's not success, that's exclusion. You might as well call yourselves a brainwashing cult because that's what you are." Olivia stepped up, her voice firm. "You know, what you're doing is just causing conflict. You're driving a wedge between the original students and the new ones." Jake Nevin retorted, "That's not true. We're creating our own spaces because it seems like all the original students are ganged up together. We need a place where we can feel comfortable too." Millie chimed in, "But that's just it, Jake. You're making it an us versus them situation. Marshall High should be about bringing everyone together, not splitting them up into cliques." Another TSSC member, a girl with a defiant look, spoke up. "It's easy for you to say that when you've always been part of the in-group. We transfer students need to stick together because we're the outsiders here." Steve joined in. "But don't you see, by sticking only to yourselves, you're missing out on being part of the bigger picture? Marshall High is diverse, and that's what makes it special." Lena, her voice tinged with frustration, added, "You're not just creating space for yourselves, you're excluding everyone else, and that's not fair to anyone." Jake's expression hardened. "Look, we have our reasons. We believe in what we're doing, and we're not going to stop just because you think it's wrong." Olivia narrowed her eyes. "Then you're choosing to be a part of the problem, not the solution. You're choosing division over unity." The TSSC girl scoffed. "And you're choosing to ignore the fact that not everyone feels welcome in your unified school." Steve, usually the peacemaker, tried a different approach. "Look, I get that starting at a new school is tough, but wouldn't it be easier to adjust if you mixed with everyone? Isn't that how you really get to know a place?" Another TSSC member, a boy with sharp eyes, retorted, "We've tried mixing. It's not as welcoming as you make it sound. That's why we have the club, to support each other where we feel left out." Jake Nevin interjected, "We're not trying to be against anyone. We just want to ensure our members don't feel lost or alone in a new environment. We want to make sure none of our students get eaten up by the wolves at Marshall High." The back and forth continued, each side firmly entrenched in their beliefs. The TSSC students were adamant about the necessity of their club, while Olivia, Millie, Lena, and Steve emphasized the importance of inclusivity and unity. Finally, Jake broke the cycle of arguments. "This conversation is going nowhere. We clearly don't see eye to eye, and that's not changing today." Olivia crossed her arms, her stance resolute. "You're right about that." As the TSSC students began to file out of the room, Olivia's sharp eyes caught a glimpse of something suspicious. One of the TSSC members, trying to be discreet, was secretly recording their entire confrontation. "This isn't the end," Jake Nevin declared with a defiant look as he and his group left the room, their parting words echoing with a threat. Once they were out of earshot, Olivia turned to Cameron Pell with a knowing look. "You know what to do," she said in a low, serious tone. Cameron nodded, a hint of determination in his eyes, and swiftly followed the TSSC students out of the room. Lena, still lying in her bed, couldn't help but praise Millie. "You were amazing, Millie. Standing up to the TSSC kids like that, you really showed them." Millie, however, was preoccupied with Olivia's earlier instruction to Cameron. "Speaking of standing up, what did Olivia just send Cameron to do to those TSSC kids?" she asked, curiosity lacing her voice. Before Olivia could answer, Cameron Bell walked in, a phone in his hand, one he had deftly swiped from one of the TSSC kids who had been secretly recording the confrontation. Cameron handed the phone over to Olivia. She caught it effortlessly, a determined look on her face. She then tossed the phone to Francis, who was standing nearby. "Unlock it and get the recording off of it," Olivia instructed, her tone leaving no room for debate. Francis, understanding the urgency of the situation, nodded and immediately set to work. "If their stupid club won't listen to reason, then we'll have to fight fire with fire." Jake and the rest of the Transfer Student Success Club members filed out of the hospital, their expression a mix of frustration and determination. As they walked down the hospital corridor, they began to discuss their next move. "We need a new strategy," Jake said, his voice low but commanding. "Olivia and her crew think they own Marshall High. We need to put them in their place." One of the students, a tall guy, chimed in. "What about a smear campaign? We could spread rumors and turn the rest of the school against them." "Yeah, and what about social media? We could use that to our advantage," suggested another member. Another boy with a mischievous grin suggested, "We could hack into the school announcement system and make it look like they're up to no good." A third member, a tall, lanky kid, added, "Or we flood the school's social media with memes mocking them. Make them a laughingstock." The ideas kept coming, each one more creative and underhanded than the last. "We could stage a confrontation, make it look like they started it," proposed a girl with a ponytail. Jake nodded, absorbing each suggestion. "These are good, but we need something that'll really hit them hard." As they walked, their conversation turned into a barrage of insults about Olivia and her friends. "Olivia thinks she's the queen of Marshall," sneered one member. "Time to knock her off her pedestal." "Yeah, she walks around like she owns the place, so full of herself," chimed in another. A third member laughed mockingly. "And her friends are no better, just a bunch of followers, like sheep." Jake smirked at the comments. "Right. They've had it too good for too long. They think they're untouchable. I swear they think they're God's gift to Marshall High, so annoying," a girl said as she looked at her phone. "They think they're so perfect," sneered Jake. "But we know the truth. They're just a bunch of arrogant kids who need to be knocked down a peg." Jake's eyes gleamed with malice. "That's why I wanted to establish the TSSC, to stop people like them from getting too full of themselves." He grinned. "I can't wait to publish that secret recording of Millie. Once the whole school sees how self-centered and arrogant she is, they'll turn against her for sure." The group nodded in agreement, their faces a mix of anticipation and scorn. "Yeah, once they see the real Millie, they'll see she's not as great as she thinks she is," added the girl on her phone. As they continued discussing their plans, one of the TSSC members, Cyrus, suddenly tripped over something. Or someone. He stumbled but managed to catch himself before falling. "Whoa, what the—" Cyrus began, turning around to see who or what had tripped him. But there was no one there. Whoever it was had vanished into the crowd. Jake, noticing the commotion, turned to Cyrus. "Hey, send that audio recording you took. We need to get this out as soon as possible." Cyrus reached for his phone, but his hand met empty air. A look of confusion spread across his face as he patted his pockets. It's not here." "What do you mean it's not there?" Jake asked, his voice rising with impatience. I had my phone and now it's gone. I don't understand. Cyrus stammered, his panic rising. Jake's face darkened. How is that possible? Where did you last have it? I put it in my back pocket. I know it was there. Cyrus insisted, his voice trembling. I swear I had my phone and then I got tripped. Could someone have taken it when you were tripped? One of the members suggested. Jake's frustration boiled over. This is insane. How did you just lose your phone like that? Maybe it fell out when you were walking, someone suggested. No, someone had to have pickpocketed me on the way out. Cyrus insisted. I didn't hear it fall when I got tripped. Jake shook his head. I'm not buying this pickpocket story. It's too big of a coincidence. Jake surveyed his group, his eyes finally landing on Delilah. She stood slightly apart from the others. Delilah had a striking look about her, sharp, intelligent eyes, her hair pulled back in a sleek ponytail that accentuated her determined expression. Delilah, Jake said, his tone businesslike, I need you to take photos of Amanda Wayne's injuries. We're going to need something to drum up sympathy for her. Delilah nodded, a glint of understanding in her eyes. She was the perfect person for the job. Discreet, efficient, and utterly unstoppable when it came to achieving her goals. Jake then turned to Cyrus, who still looked a bit rattled from losing his phone. Cyrus, your job is to scrub the footage of Amanda tripping Lena from the security cameras outside Marshall. Make sure there's nothing left that can link back to us. Cyrus nodded, though the anxiety in his eyes was evident. The task was risky but necessary. With his instructions given, Jake dismissed the group. All right, everyone knows what they need to do. Let's get to work. He watched as they dispersed, each member heading off to carry out their assigned tasks. Left alone, Jake started to walk, his mind racing with plans and strategies. What he hadn't noticed, however, was the figure that had started to follow him. It wasn't until he caught a glimpse of a reflection in a shop window that he realized he wasn't alone. Jake slowed his pace, trying to get a better look at the reflection of the man following him. Tall, broad-shouldered, and wearing a dark hoodie that obscured most of his face. Who is this guy and why is he tailing me? Jake muttered to himself, a sense of unease creeping up his spine. He needed to confront this follower, but he had to be smart about it. Without showing any sign of panic, Jake casually turned into a nearby alleyway, a place where he could face his pursuer without any prying eyes. As expected, the man followed Jake into the alleyway. Who are you? Why are you following me? Jake demanded. The man chuckled softly, a sound that sent shivers down Jake's spine. Always straight to the point, aren't you, Jake? I'm surprised, the man said, his voice calm yet carrying an undercurrent of amusement. Most people don't ask questions first. Jake rolled his eyes, unimpressed. Who are you? He asked again. Ignoring the questions, the man continued. Let me tell you what I know about you. You're Jake Nevin, the golden boy of the Nevin family, poised to take over the family business. But that's not all, is it? Jake clenched his fist, his patience wearing thin. Stop beating around the bush. Who are you and what do you want? The man smiled slightly. I simply want to make friends. Why would you want to be friends with me? Jake asked, his skepticism evident. The man's smile widened. Well, why wouldn't I? You're a cool and popular guy. You're a guy that has secrets, that would hate to have those secrets revealed. I love being friends with people that have something to lose. I have no secrets, so tell me what game you're playing, Jake retorted, trying to mask his growing unease. Undeterred, the man stepped closer, his presence intimidating yet calculated. Jake stood his ground, refusing to show any sign of fear. The man's voice dropped to a more threatening tone. Well, that's just not true, Jake. You see, I know one of your big secrets. I know about your secret lady friend, he said with a devilish smirk. Jake's heart skipped a beat, but he maintained his composure. The man continued to advance. What's more interesting is that this lady friend of yours is also your uncle's secret lady friend. Sharing a lover with your uncle could be quite scandalous, don't you think? It could ruin your chances of inheriting the family business." Jake's confident facade began to crumble. He could feel sweat forming on his brow. How did the stranger know his deepest secrets? "You've done your homework. Now show me your face," Jake demanded. The man ignored his demand. "It's intriguing, a young man like you entangled in such a scandalous affair." Jake gritted his teeth. "I'm warning you." "Please, Jake, let's not get upset with one another. I want to be your friend, remember?" Jake was seething with anger. "Enough of this, who are you?" The man didn't answer directly. Instead, he kept talking. "You're now at Marshall High, where you started the Transfer Student Success Club. A club that could use a better name, but I love what it stands for." Jake looked at him confused. "You support our club?" "Absolutely," the man said. "I have my enemies at Marshall, and I believe you and I could work together." Jake sneered. "And why would I work with someone like you?" The man leaned in closer, his voice a whisper. "Remember the scandal with your lady friend? It'd be a shame if that got out." "So you're threatening me?" Jake said, his voice laced with anger. "It's more of a friendly warning, but sure, if that's what it takes to get what I want," the man replied, his tone casual. "I genuinely want to help you." Jake, now desperate for answers, spat out, "You haven't answered my question. Who are you?" The man finally stopped, mere inches away from Jake. "I'm someone who can make your problems disappear, Jake. Or I can make them a lot worse. The choice is yours." "Answer me," Jake said as his frustration started to boil over. The man leaned in, his breath cold on Jake's face. "I'm Mark DeLillo, and I believe we can help each other." "Mark DeLillo?" Jake questioned as he skeptically backed away from Mark. "The one and only," Mark said with an annoying amount of bravado. "I'm from the Rose family, and you, my friend, can be very useful to me." As Jake stared at Mark, he felt himself growing more upset. "Why are you following me, and what's with the blackmail?" Jake demanded, his frustration evident. Mark, with a sly grin, replied, "Come on, Jake, we're friends. I don't start blackmailing my friends this early on." His tone was light, but there was an undercurrent of seriousness in his words. Jake rolled his eyes, unamused by Mark's antics. "Cut the crap, Mark. Why do you care so much about the Transfer Student Success Club?" Mark's smile faded slightly as he got to the heart of the matter. "We have a mutual enemy, Jake. That's why I'm interested." Jake's curiosity piqued. "And who's this mutual enemy?" "Olivia Johnson," Mark stated flatly, his eyes narrowing. Jake was taken aback. "Why are you out for Olivia? What's she done to you?" Mark's expression darkened. "Let's just say Olivia and I have a complicated relationship." Jake, skeptical of Mark's vague explanation, challenged him. "You're going after a high school girl? Seriously, Mark? Aren't you a bit old for that?" A flash of anger crossed Mark's face, quickly masked by a forced calm. "Olivia isn't just some little girl," he retorted, his voice low and controlled. Jake couldn't help but mock. "But she is, Mark. She's just a high school girl. How can you be this worked up about her?" Mark struggled to keep his frustration in check. "As long as Olivia is around, your precious Transfer Student Success Club will never reach its full potential. She's more of a threat than you realize." Jake looked at Mark, clearly not convinced. "I think I can handle Olivia. The club will be just fine." Mark laughed, a sound devoid of humor. "You're naive, Jake. But you'll come around, and if not, well, I can always make your dirty little secret public." With that, Mark handed Jake his business card, a smug smile playing on his lips. He turned and walked away, leaving Jake standing there conflicted and uneasy. As Mark made his way back to the busy street, his thoughts were focused and clear. Getting closer to taking Olivia down. She won't know what hit her. His smile widened as he envisioned his plan coming to fruition. Jake's mind raced as he processed his recent encounter with Mark. Talking to himself, he tried to make sense of the strange and intense conversation. "That was weird," he muttered. Mark was so intense about Olivia, like unnaturally obsessed. How did he even get all that information about me? He paused, the weight of Mark's threat hanging over him. Would he go public with my secret relationship? What would that even mean for me? Jake's heart pounded at the thought, the implications sending a shiver down his spine. He pulled out Mark's business card, turning it over in his hands. The name Mark DeLillo was printed in bold letters, a name that carried a sense of mystery. Mark said he's from the Rose family, but they disappeared from New York like 18 years ago. That just doesn't add up. Jake's mind churned with doubts and questions. How did Mark even find out about the Transfer Student Success Club? And can he really help make the club a force at Marshall High? He shook his head, trying to clear the fog of confusion. No, this guy seems like a total fraud. I mean, the Rose family, really? That's straight out of some conspiracy theory. Jake's thoughts circled back to the club. I'm sure I can make the Transfer Student Success Club a success without Mark's help. I don't need some sketchy guy with a questionable past and a weird vendetta against a high school girl. He pocketed the business card, a determined look on his face. I'll figure this out on my own. I don't need Mark or anyone else. The club will succeed, and I'll make sure of it. With a final glance down the alley, Jake straightened up and headed back towards the street, his mind set on his goals. Mark's mysterious and unsettling presence would not deter him. Later that night, Delilah logged on to the school forum. Her fingers flew over the keyboard as she crafted a post designed to stir up drama and tarnish the reputations of Millie, Olivia, and Lena. I think it's time we talked about the so-called accident that happened to Amanda Wayne. We've all heard the whispers, but now let's face the truth. Amanda was not just a victim of circumstance. She was the target of a vicious attack orchestrated by none other than Lena, with Millie and Olivia as the masterminds. It's clear that Amanda, sweet and innocent, never saw it coming. Lena, with her aggressive tendencies, was the perfect pawn in their twisted game. But why stop at physical harm? Millie and Olivia, the supposed angels of Marshall High, plotted this all along. They wanted Amanda out of the picture, and they used Lena to do their dirty work. You might be thinking, why would they do this? Oh, the reasons are as clear as day. Power, control, jealousy, take your pick. Millie and Olivia have been running the show for far too long. And Lena, well, she's just following along like a lost puppy. This tragic event is just the tip of the iceberg. It's time we opened our eyes to the reality that these three are not the heroes they pretend to be. They're schemers, backstabbers, and now they've added violence to their repertoire. But don't worry, dear classmates. This post is just the beginning. Watch your backs, Millie, Olivia, and Lena. The truth can't be hidden forever. With a satisfied smirk, Delilah hit the post button. This will show them that we're not just outsiders. We're a threat that will take them down, she murmured to herself, proud of her handiwork. However, just 10 minutes later, Delilah's triumphant mood was cut short. She refreshed the page to find that her post had been deleted. Her eyes widened in disbelief and frustration. Delilah quickly typed a message into the Transfer Student Success Club group chat, her fingers tapping away in frustration. Guys, the school just deleted my forum post. They're trying to silence us. Jake's response came almost immediately, his outrage palpable even through text. This is outrageous. We need to escalate this. I say we bring this issue to the New York Board of Education. We have to highlight the bullying problem at Marshall. It's time to get serious. Delilah typed a response. I agree, Jake, but where do we start? Jake fired off a quick response. Post the photos of Amanda's injuries on Instagram and TikTok. We need to gather public support around her ASAP. Delilah wasted no time. Her resolve was strengthened by Jake's words. She quickly gathered the photos of Amanda's injuries and posted them on both Instagram and TikTok. She then continuously refreshed her pages, eagerly waiting to see the views and reactions pile up. But to her dismay, no matter where she posted, the content was deleted within 10 minutes. Her frustration grew with each deletion, the sense of being silenced fueling her determination. Delilah turned back to the group chat, her messages dripping with anger and frustration. "Jake, my posts are getting deleted too. They're trying to bury this." Jake's reply was swift, a mixture of anger and strategic thinking. "They're trying to cover this up, but we won't let them. We need a new plan." Jake sat alone, Mark DeLillo's business card in hand, his mind racing as he read Delilah's text. He couldn't help but wonder if Olivia was as big of a threat as Mark had made her out to be. Is she really behind all of this? Is she the reason our posts are getting deleted? He wondered, turning the card over in his fingers. He was torn, his thoughts ping-ponging back and forth. Was Mark right? Or is he just a con artist trying to stir up trouble? Jake couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the situation than met the eye. Reluctantly, he typed a message into the TSSC group chat. "We'll figure this out later. For now, we need to delete the surveillance footage tomorrow. Delilah, send your thread to someone else in the group. Maybe it's just an issue with your account." Delilah quickly forwarded her post to another club member, who promptly tried to post them on the school forum. Within minutes, a new message popped up in the chat from the other member. "Guys, I just tried to log into the forum, and my account has been deleted. What's going on?" Jake stared at the message, a sense of unease growing within him. He murmured to himself, maybe Olivia isn't just some high school girl. Could she be orchestrating all this? He glanced again at Mark's business card, a new sense of apprehension settling over him. Should I trust Mark DeLillo? Across town in her room, Olivia paced back and forth, a look of concern etched on her face. She was deep in thought, wondering if Zach had managed to thwart what she suspected would be a dubious attack from the Transfer Student Success Club. Her phone rang, breaking her train of thought. It was Zach. "Hey, Olivia, just wanted to let you know, I successfully deleted Delilah's account." Zach's voice came through the phone, a hint of triumph in his tone. "That's great, Zach," Olivia replied, relief evident in her voice. "Yeah, she was posting some ridiculous, mopey screed. Made Amanda out to be a weak, wounded puppy and painted you, Millie, and Lena as little Cruella de Vil's," Zach explained. Olivia chuckled dryly. "I expected nothing less from them." "There's more," Zach continued. "They tried to have someone else log in and make the post, but I deleted her account too." Olivia's smile widened. "That's great work, Zach. You stopped both posts. But are you sure it won't tie back to you?" "Don't worry. I left no trace behind," Zach assured her confidently. "Excellent job. Keep a lookout for any other posts they might try to make," Olivia instructed. "Will do. I'll stay alert," Zach promised. As Olivia ended the call, Morgana walked into her room, a look of curiosity on her face. "What are you up to?" she inquired. Olivia put her phone down. Zach was able to delete posts made by Delilah in the Transfer Student Success Club. Morgana dramatically groaned and rolled her eyes. "Oh, I'm so tired of the TSSC. Can't we just kill them off or something?" Olivia laughed softly. "There's no need for that, Morgana." "But this is boring and they're so annoying. Surely someone should die. What about Jake?" Morgana suggested dryly. She was completely serious. "No, Morgana, no one needs to die," Olivia replied firmly. Morgana pouted. "Fine, but it would just make things so much simpler." Olivia shook her head, a mischievous glint in her eye. "We're setting the TSSC kids up so they cause their demise. It's cleaner that way." "Killing them can be clean too, but whatever floats your boat, I guess," Morgana said as she flopped onto the bed. "Hey, I have a question for you," Morgana said as she changed the subject. What would you do if you were a military leader trying to take over a country with a strong leader of its own? She asked. Olivia, caught off guard, raised an eyebrow. What are you talking about? Morgana sat up, her eyes gleaming with intrigue. I think about this stuff all the time. Like, if you were a military leader and you wanted to conquer a country but it already had a powerful leader, what would you do? Olivia leaned back in her chair, considering the question. What kind of strong leader are we talking about? Morgana elaborated. A leader that has their subjects eating out of their hands. Someone who can get people to do whatever they say, almost like they're magical or something. Olivia studied Morgana for a moment, trying to decipher her intent. If I were up against a leader like that, I'd go straight for the head, bash in the brains of the other leader, cut off the head of the snake. Morgana's eyes widened, impressed. That's so dark, Olivia. I love it. Olivia casually tossed an apple to Morgana. Hungry? Morgana caught the apple but hesitated. I just brushed my teeth, though. Despite her words, she bit into the apple, making a face as the sour taste mixed with the mint of her toothpaste. Oh, this tastes awful after brushing. Olivia chuckled. You don't have to eat it. Morgana took another bite, her expression softening. You know, the more I eat it, the better it gets. Kind of like you, Olivia. At first, you're all sour and sharp, but over time, you get better. Olivia smirked, slightly touched by Morgana's comment. Is that a compliment? Morgana set the apple down and got up. I'm going to bed. Night, Olivia. Left alone, Olivia stayed up until 2 a.m., her laptop open as she delved into research. She looked up the Confluence and Park Corporation's current standings in New York, as well as the public opinion on them. Her mind was a whirlwind of strategy and calculations, piecing together information that could be crucial as she moved forward with the companies. When Olivia walked into her classroom the next morning, she was greeted by an unexpected sight. Pictures of Amanda Wayne, covered in casts and looking pitiful, were plastered all over the room. Morgana stood beside her and surveyed the scene with a mix of amusement and disdain. Wow, I'm liking the mummy look on Amanda. It's quite fashionable in an ancient Egyptian way, Morgana quipped, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Olivia smirked, observing the pictures. Looks like the Transfer Student Success Club went for the real-life approach with their smear campaign. How basic. Morgana nodded in agreement. It's like they're trying too hard to make us the villains of some melodramatic soap opera. She does look like she's auditioning for a role in The Mummy Returns, Olivia remarked with a smirk, examining one of the photos. Morgana laughed. Yeah, and she's nailing it. Maybe she should consider a career change. Acting might be more her speed, especially since she's so good at playing the victim. Olivia continued. She's really committing to the role, isn't she? I mean, talk about dedication to a look. Morgana studied one of the pictures closely. I wonder if she accessorizes with those casts. Maybe some glitter or bedazzling? It could be the next big thing. As they bantered, a group of students entered the classroom and overheard their conversation. They stopped, their expression shifting from surprise to shock. One student, unable to hide their disbelief, confronted Olivia and Morgana. I can't believe how rude and insensitive you two are. Another chimed in, their voice filled with indignation. You're so cruel. How can you talk about someone in that much pain? She's in a full-body cast and in a coma. The classroom buzzed with murmurs of agreement, the other students echoing similar sentiments. That's just mean, one said. How can you be so heartless? Asked another. Olivia and Morgana exchanged glances, rolling their eyes as they realized the smear campaign was working more effectively than they had anticipated. In the corner of the room, Delilah watched the scene unfold, a sly smirk on her face. Olivia, scanning the pictures of Amanda and her cast, casually remarked, It's probably best that Amanda is in a coma. The classroom fell silent for a moment before erupting in shock and repulsion. Different students reacted with disbelief. How could you say something like that? One student asked, appalled. Olivia, unfazed, replied, If Amanda were awake, imagine how shocking and terrifying it would be for her to find herself in a full-body cast, unable to move. Another student, outraged, countered, So you'd rather her be in a coma? That's sick. I bet you wouldn't say that about Lena. Olivia's annoyance was evident as she retorted. Neither Amanda nor Lena would even be in the hospital if it weren't for Amanda's actions. It's simply karma that led her to be injured worse. The students' outrage intensified. Karma must be your cruel cousin then, because Amanda Wayne doesn't deserve to suffer like that, one student exclaimed. Olivia stood her ground. I'm not cruel. I just have all the evidence. It clearly shows Amanda Wayne trying to severely hurt Lena by pushing her down the steps. The students were quick to argue back. That's not true. You're just jealous of Amanda Wayne and want to see her suffer. Olivia, you're twisting the story to fit your narrative. Another added, Amanda is the victim here. Olivia defended herself. I'm only saying the coma is best so Amanda doesn't have to suffer and can properly heal. Everyone needs to know the truth. Amanda Wayne is behind all of this. Morgana, standing beside Olivia, chimed in with her usual dry wit. It's like a twisted game of Clue. It was Amanda, in the hallway, with the shovel. The students were quick to fire back, their voices filled with emotion. You're both so cruel. I wish you were pushed down the stairs. The argument was about to escalate further when Mr. Dickens walked into the room. His presence immediately diffused the tension. All right, what's going on here? Mr. Dickens demanded, his tone authoritative yet concerned. The students began to speak all at once, their voices overlapping in a cacophony of accusations and defenses. Mr. Dickens raised his hand, signaling for silence. Enough! This is not the way we handle things at Marshall High. We're going to discuss this calmly and rationally. The room quieted down, the students reluctantly ceasing their heated debate under Mr. Dickens' watchful eye. Olivia and Morgana exchanged a glance, knowing that this was far from over. It was 2 against 20, and even though Olivia knew she was in the right, that didn't always seem to matter. The world seemed to have it out for Olivia. But I always get my revenge, she thought calmly. It's just a matter of time.